Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Odierno, I think it was last week, I know it was, you and Secretary McHugh were here. I'd like to follow up on just one thing that came up last week on the mental health issues. My understanding from last week was that when a soldier leaves an installation, his or her medical records follow them to the next post, but their mental record does not follow them. Is that right?
So we're working our way through this. This is something we're looking into. The medical record does, the mental health record can go to certain people, but is not distributed completely. So one of the problems we have is that commanders don't know that this is transition. Medical professionals might, but the commanders don't know. And that's what we're trying to work at now and figure out how we can look at that and what we can do to help with us with these problems, because that's something that we've faced for some time now. We have not been able to solve yet. So we're trying to work through legal issues, HIPAA, and other things that are out there that allow us to do this to protect our soldiers and provide them the right care as we identify it.
Well, at some level, we have to start dealing with these mental issues, both in how we treat them, how we pay for them, how we communicate them like they're health issues. And I assume what you're trying to determine in your answer, assume from your answer, you're trying to determine at least what level of the command structure all records need to be available as decisions are made?
That's correct. So we can get them the right care. So we understand there might be a problem. So we understand we can make sure that they are getting the right capabilities that they need in order to help themselves. And that's really the key piece of this. And in reality, the other piece is we're even looking at things that if somebody has a significant medical issue, do we even allow them to do a change of station? Let's fix it where he is unless we think it's better for him to move. And that would be a conscious decision that we would make as well. Those are all the kind of things that we have to constantly review as we look at this very difficult problem.
Yeah, you know, NIH, the National Institute of Health, says that 1 out of 4 adults has a diagnosable and treatable mental health issue. I don't know if it's higher or lower in the military, but I suspect the military is pretty reflective of overall society in that regard. And both as a society and as the institutions that defend us, we just can't continue to act like somehow this is something nobody else has to deal with but the one individual you're talking to. Nobody else, it's not. So I'll be supportive and hope to be helpful of whatever you're doing there. I appreciated Senator McCain's remarks about the A-10. I think there is a real gap here, and we need to be thinking about how to fill that gap. General Talley, on the F-16s are one of the supposed replacements, but I don't think the F-16s do all the A-10s do in terms of close combat support. Am I right on that, or what? Do you want to make a comment about that?
Sir, I don't. That's outside my area of expertise. Anything you want to ask about the Army or technical enablers, I can talk for hours.
So in terms of close support for the Army, you don't have a sense of which of those aircraft would be better?
Sir, I'll leave those comments to General Odierno and to others, sir.
General, do you want to follow up at all on?
Yeah,
one of the potential replacements is we'd put the F-16 in, and I don't think it does the same thing.
Yeah, so as I've said this a couple times, not in this hearing. So, but what I would say is the F-16 is designed for close air support. It is designed to provide support to our soldiers. Its both visual and capability enables us to provide close air support. In Afghanistan, more than 50% of close air support missions have been flown by F-16s. So what we have to figure out, though, now remember, this is a counterinsurgency environment, so we have to work with the Air Force, is what is the right platform and what is the tactics, techniques, and procedures we need to provide close air support across a wide variety of potential scenarios that we're going to have to operate. We do know the A-10 works in those scenarios today. And so we have to work with them to make sure that we have that capability. You know, General Walsh has been very specific about saying they will ensure that we have the right close air support. Soldiers like the A-10, they can see it, they can hear it, they have confidence in it. And that's the one thing that we have to account for as we move forward.
Well, I would hope before we replace the A-10, we know that we're replacing them with something that works and there's no gap between the thing that would work and the ability to have that particular replacement as something that would work. General Grass, in the coming and going here as we do, I know you mentioned some mobilization figures for the Guard. Could you repeat those to me? It seems to me there's some real disagreement about readiness as it relates to the Guard.
Senator, what I mentioned in my opening statement was 760,000 mobilizations of Army and Air Guard. Of that, just over 500,000 have been Army Guard.
And in terms of readiness?
Yes. Over time, and again, going back to pre-9/11, resources weren't always there to maintain, and for all the right reasons. I mean, we're in peacetime, we're taking a peace dividend. As long as we can meet our state missions and a certain level of training in peacetime, we're able to have some reduced levels of funding. But as the war started, we had to ramp up quickly. What has happened over the last 12.5 years, thanks to the great work of the Congress and of the services, they've helped us get up to a level where we've reduced the amount of post-mobilization time significantly. Over time, that will atrophy, especially as the resources go away, and as we get out into full sequestration, we will slowly atrophy back to, at a lower level of training.
And I believe what you said, General Odierno, is a lot of the OCO money, the Iraq and Afghanistan money, has been used over this 12-year period of time to be sure that the Guard was ready.
It has, and in fact, we have this organization called First Army, whose total responsibility is to train the Guard and Reserves. We have to reduce that because a lot of that, we built that up over the last 10 or 12 years with OCO dollars as they were preparing the Guard and Reserve to go. So that organization is shrinking in the active component, and they were the prime, with input from the U.S. Army Reserves and National Guard. That organization was the main trainer of them and continue to be. So we're still going to have that organization, but it's not going to be robust or as big as it once was because that was funded in OCO money.
Senator, can I get in on that?
Yes.
For just a minute? So in the Army Reserve, since we're technical enablers, our requirements at a MOB site are generally 2-3 weeks. We've consistently got in and out of the MOB site ready to go in less than a month. Normally it's 2 to 3 weeks. Every mission that's ever come down to the Army Reserve, we've been at C1 or C2, which is the highest level of readiness, 60 days prior to the late entry date. So that says a lot about the ability of the Army Reserve to generate readiness quickly. And then to echo on what the Chief's talking about is that op-tempo money, that extra money is how we buy back and maintain that readiness. On First Army, most of First Army is actually Army Reserve. Almost the majority of First Army's structure is provided by me out of the U.S. Army Reserve Command. And it's a great organization, very helpful in helping us get all the Army Reserve components ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would think if the force was truly interoperable and the readiness issue could be dealt with, that as you're reducing the full-time force, that you'd want to actually be increasing the backup part-time force. And I'm going to let you talk about that, General. That'll be my last question.
Thank you. So Forces Command, which is the commander of all continental forces in continental United States, include U.S. Army Reserve, National Guard, and active, he has put together a plan that will have better integrate training at several different levels to increase the capabilities of the Guard and Reserve. And this was at the request of the Guard and Reserve. They wanted us to do this, and Frank, General Grass talked about it earlier, where we're integrating better active, reserve, and national when we can in training, which will help us to do this. So we have to come up with new ways to do this, but there are ways we can come up with that will continue to ensure we have the right readiness levels.
Thank all of you.
Thank you very much, Senator Blunt.